G'day guys and gal. Although it is pretty glorious to be a 8-foot tall immortal demigod super soldier who can kablam away most of the galaxy's horrors and nightmares, the selection process to become an Astartes is super AIDS. Extreme suffering, high mortality rate, broken psyche, and severe retardation are just a number of common results from the process of going from a pasty neckbeard that gets out of breath just by running to the fridge to one of the Emperor's finest. However, although each legion's trials can all absolutely ruin you, they do so in their own unique and challenging ways. No two Astartes trials are the same, and it is these trials that differentiate a person who just, has gene seed in them and a full-blown rootin' tootin' cowboy shootin' space marine. Before we get started, if you know me, you know I like to keep fresh, clean, and as bangable as possible. To help with this, I've been using Geology's easy, effective, and wildly affordable skincare package for almost a year now. Do a quick online quiz and bam! A custom skincare routine designed for men will be delivered to your door. But I'm not here to talk about Geology skincare today. We've done that plenty of times. I'm here to announce their new product, the Co-Wash. Without getting into the nitty-gritty, Co-Wash is for your hair, except unlike a lot of shampoos, it doesn't strip your hair of those natural oils and dry it out, instead acting like a rejuvenating skincare for the scalp, removing the dirt without nuking the follicles. I personally didn't really understand it, but then my lady friend Alex was like, holy shit, this looks awesome, I'm stealing this. And if there's one thing chicks know about, it's how to look after hair. It's got avocado oil, coconut oil, and vitamins and all that other stuff which I'm sure is really good. So to get 30% off your Co-Wash, then use my linking code Majorkill70 below. And to add even more spice, Geology's 70% off discount for your skincare trial package still applies. So you are saving a shit ton of money here. Cheers to Geology for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over each Legion's Space Marine trials, detailing what is unique about their specific trial, how they do it, and just the fun little bits of lore about how awful it actually is. Let's get into it. It's important to note that Space Marine trials can be fluid, with different people going through different stuff during different time periods. So I'll basically just be taking the interesting bits from across the timeline, because what the fuck is the point of watching these videos if they aren't interesting? When the Dark Angels had a home planet, the trials to become one of their Astartes were quite clean and noble. They test your DNA, if it's compatible with the Dark Angel gene seed, then you would be put through physically demanding trials to test your will and limits. As most of the aspirants were already squires in knightly orders, and the process to become a squire in Caliban already involved insane trials of their own, they were pretty much ready to become Astartes very soon after the Dark Angels arrived. Since the end of the Horus heresy, the Dark Angel trials have become more brutal. Instead of a simple DNA test, aspirants will get cut open with a chainsaw, have their organs shifted through by an apothecary, and then stitched back together, all while awake and without painkillers. Then they are more or less thrown into a massive fuck-off free-for-all melee, with the best warriors being chosen to advance. After this, there is a shitload of secret rituals and psycho-indoctrination, as they are granted more and more superhuman organs, eventually becoming the secretive angels that we all know and want to love today. The second Legion Space Marine trials involve shoving a pencil down your dick hole and pressing shift. As you can imagine, nobody passes, hence this Legion no longer exists. During the Great Crusade, the Emperor's children were desperate for recruits due to how deplenished their legion was due to the blight on their gene seed. As such, Fabius was always testing entire worlds to find genetic candidates. Anyone who was eligible would be taken and put through the trials. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean they were lower quality because their trials were less strict and more rushed, but their Lord Commander was fucking Eidolon, the biggest dipshit incompetent fuckstain in the entire galaxy, so clearly there was some quality issues. In their current chaos form, I assume they just recruit whoever has the longest cock. The Iron Warriors, strict, unforgiving, and wildly effective. Surely such a brutal legion would have had one of the harshest recruitment trials. After all, Perturabo literally murdered 10% of his legion for the lols. Well, sadly, we don't know a whole lot about the recruitment process, but we can assume it would suck dick and probably involve castration via barbed wire as one of the opening requirements. Post-heresy, however, there is quite a bit of lore. Any Chaos cultist who kills a loyalist space marine is automatically given the chance to ascend to Astartes status. However, the Iron Warriors took this a little further, creating the infamous Demoncula bar. Now, if you are currently eating, I would recommend skipping ahead 20 seconds, but basically to rapidly recruit a lot of Chaos Space Marines, the Iron Warriors kidnapped women, pumped pumped them full of rapid growth hormones to make them gigantic, then they shoved aspirants up their vaginas, who would then gestate within the homuncular bar for a while until being rebirthed as an Iron Warrior, usually via tearing their way out of the woman from any orifice they could. She would then be stitched back together and forced to repeat the process until she died. Yeah, you can keep eating now. The White Scars are pretty flexible about their recruitment, as you can imagine, choosing aspirants based on action and deeds rather than how they score in an exam. For example, during the Great Crusade, a White Scar was chosen because he fought 3 dudes he stole a horse from. Because of his risk-taking, bravery and combat skills, he was a good candidate. There is some mention about how White Scar aspirants have to take on some artistic pursuits, including poetry, showing that the assumption of White Scar savagery is just an illusion that masks a very sophisticated legion. Speaking of savagery, we now have the Space Wolves. The Space Wolf recruitment is very primitive and draws parallels to our own histories. Aspirants will be dumped into the wilds of Fenris, forced to fend for themselves against numerous predators. Space Wolf recruitment rates during the Great Crusade were great, as they were given special gene tools to help with gene seed implantation, so a lot of the rites and rituals that they currently have were unnecessary back then. Modern day Space Wolf recruitment is a bitch. Aspirants have a really high chance of turning into Wolfen from the overwhelming force of the change, and then they also have to go through the gates of Morkai, where the Chaos Gods are allowed to tempt their souls. This is why individual modern day Space Wolves seem pretty overpowered. Their trials are fucked and take extreme levels of willpower to pass through. The Imperial Fists are a practical bunch, so you would expect them to have a pretty clear and ordered recruitment process, but no. They recruit from many different worlds and specifically choose the Underhive Gangers as their desired aspirant types. Basically, whoever can beat the shit out of everyone else and survive gets a shot at a fisting. Necromunda, the most harsh, fucked up gang warfare hive world in the Imperium, is chef's kiss, Imperial Fist's favorite recruitment ground. It's no wonder the Black Templars came from Dawn. The harshness of these aspirants is likely due to Dawn's homeworld of Inwit also being a brutal shithole, so they are looking to simulate that in their own way. The Nightlords take this a step further. Before they blew up their own home planet, they would recruit the strongest, most vicious children on it. These children, or young adults, ended up being murderers, thieves, and rapists, so it's no surprise that the Nightlord Legion got full of degenerates pretty quickly. Post-heresy, they take what they can get. If a child is genetically compatible to become a Nightlord, they will make them a Nightlord and just hope for the best. If you're wondering why the Nightlords seem like a total non-threat to the galaxy right now, this is probably why. The Blood Angels, on the other hand, have a very intricate recruitment system. It's actually so effective that their aspirants can start off as a malnourished semi-mutant and end up as a perfect Astartes. I mean, fuck, with the coming of the Primaris, they can even turn genuinely retarded kids into Blood Angels. The secret to this transformation is that at the end of the trials that are pretty similar across other Space Marine legions, they are then put into a blood-filled casket and fed some of Sanguinius's blood, which more or less makes them trick megaballs for about a year. Some of them go insane, some of them snap out of their sleep and are stuck in a tank filled with blood for a year, which makes them insane, some just fucking die. It is one of the most brutal trials out of all the legions. But hey, if it turns you from a malnourished downer into a son of Sanguinius, then I'd say it's worth the risk. During the Great Crusade, the Iron Hands and their recruitment was brutal by order of Ferrus Manus. When the Imperium came to his homeworld of Medusa and offered to make it a civilized world with a better standard of living, Ferrus rejected them, preferring to keep his world savage and strong, where the powerful killed the weak. His world continued its tribal infighting, only this time Ferrus would occasionally yonk the best warriors and put them in his legion. As such, pretty much every Iron Hand has taken one or more lives before they even join the legion. Modern day Iron Hands are way stupider, being taught to hate their own flesh as they are ruthlessly pushed and basically tortured during their trials. The lucky few who pass then must cut off their left hand and replace it with an augmetic. They can do so with a knife or, just shove the hand into fucking lava. Overall, the Iron Hands recruitment is considered to be one of the most intense, absurd, and masochistic of all the legions. Oh yeah, and if you fail, they just turn you into a servitor. The 11th Legion recruitment involves a game of hide and seek. If you were never found, then you get to become one of their Astartes. World Eater recruitment during the Great Crusade was all about gladiatorial matches and combat. As Angron's home world wasn't an option for recruitment, they would pick up the most vicious warriors from each planet they visited, get them to kick the shit out of each other, with the survivors then being inducted into the Legion. Straightforward and bloody. Post-heresy, I honestly don't know. They're all so fucking fried from the butcher's nails that I doubt they have any more apothecaries. There's a decent chance that the original World Eaters are just borderline extinct, with some Chaos Marines who fall to Khorne just donning the armor and calling it a day. The only time the World Eaters appear in force is when Angron launches an invasion of Imperial space, but even then there isn't that many. The Ultramarines have the most sensible of all recruitment processes, choosing children of educated families, making them sit exams and team building exercises before getting them to beat the shit out of each other. What? Just because Ultramarine recruitment makes sense doesn't mean it still isn't incredibly violent with a high mortality rate. There is no plot twist here. Although effective, their recruitment is as what you would expect it to be, and it's probably closest to what we would do in real life. The 14th Legion is the Death Guard. Mortarion was one of the few Primarchs whose own personal culture was wildly different to that of his Legion before they were united. He basically deleted their history and style and forcibly merged them with his own home planet. The Death Guard were known for their resilience, able to weather poison and punishment that would break other legions with ease. This is reflected in their recruitment process and trials, in which aspirants are subject to toxic gases and forced to drink literal poison. Yeah, fucking sucks, dude. The toxins and poisons get progressively more intense, pushing the Death Guard aspirants to the brink of death, or, you know, straight up death. The worst is that they then have to go through the galaxy's shittiest obstacle course, wading through toxic sludge, poisoned thorns, and the like until they either die, pass out, or make it. Only by completing this course will they be considered worthy to join the Death Guard. I have no fucking clue how they recruit new Marines these days, considering how corrupted their gene seed would be. The Thousand Sons had the perfect recruitment world, Prospero, a planet full of stable psychers. However, the main trial wasn't so much as to impress Magnus, but to not freak out and accidentally turn into a Chaos Spawn abomination. Aspirants had to be open-minded, intelligent, and wise. Well, not wise enough to not become the tool of a demon god, but wiser than the Space Wolves, who refused to wear helmets in battle. Since the fall of Prospero, the ascension of Magnus, and the rubric of Ahriman, the Thousand Sons have an extremely hard time recruiting new Marines into their legion. Like, they can't use their Primarch to make new gene seed, their gene seed is very unstable, and most of them are now made of dust. I mean, can they even make new Marines? I kinda hope not, as each Thousand Son sorcerer is OP as hell. The Sons of Horus were a noble yet quite vicious legion. Dueling, brawling, and ruthless effectiveness was their vibe. We don't know a whole lot about their recruitment or trials, especially since the super unique Astartes trials were more fleshed out post-heresy, but since they did recruit from Chthoniya, which was a gang world, a lot of them were rough and had like gang tats and shit. I imagine they would just yoink the biggest and baddest. After all, their first captain was Abaddon, and that dude is built like a brick shithouse. In their Black Legion form, they take who they can get, poaching Space Marines from the other traitor legions, or creating new legionnaires with whatever gene seed they can get their hands on. Except for probably Blood Angel. Likewise, we don't get much detail on the Word Bearers' recruitment pre-heresy. However, since they recruited from Cultus and everyone on Cultus was religious, it's likely they would choose the most devout, charismatic, and willful aspirants to ascend into the Legion. Post-heresy, it's probably a similar vibe, except Cultus was blown up, so now they would just choose the most devout cultists on a variety of different worlds within the Eye of Terror. Fortunately, there is quite a bit of info regarding the Friendly Salamander recruitment process. Potential aspirants are chosen very young, at like 5 or 6. They are then tasked with learning how to become a blacksmith, following the footsteps of their Primarch. The best craftsmen are then chosen to begin the process of becoming an Astartes, with their trials more or less emulating the legendary contest between the Emperor and Vulcan, culminating in the hunting and slaying of a fire salamander. Of course, the wholesome Fireboys trials would literally just be follow the footsteps of their father and grandfather. The Raven Guard aspirants must prove to have a talent for stealth before they are even considered, having to play games of high-stakes hide-and-seek. Once they are shown to be stealthy boys, they then must catch numerous birds, including a raven. Each bird they capture and kill, they then must remove its skull and attach it to their armor as a token. Once they have dodged enough security cameras and murdered enough poor innocent birds, they'll be ready to become a full Astartes. And finally, the Alpha Legion. Yeah, I have no fucking clue. I think they just overcomplicate shit and follow heist movie plots as they kidnap exceptional potential candidates. Whatever they do, it must be effective, as the Alpha Legion was one of, if not the largest legion in the galaxy during the Great Crusade. They do actually have one pretty cool recruitment method. Basically, they choose a vulnerable loyalist chapter, they slowly influence and implant trigger messages into the subconscious of their new recruits. Then when the chapter is full of people who they have marked, they attack, activating the triggers and causing the chapter to turn on itself. Then whatever marked Space Marines from that chapter are left will be taken into the Alpha Legion. Pretty cool actually. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where there is not only a bunch of great nude cosplay photos, including one of myself, but also a boatload of Battle Mace 40 million hentai. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more shit content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.